Okay, I wanted to make a short fucking video about virtual functions. Um, they're mostly pointless. They're not necessary, but they are good annotation. So, in the book that I got this out of, did not do it this way. They didn't annotate it this way. The only thing they did was annotate the parent class. They called this function virtual, and then it's going to be actually usurped by functions of an identical name, okay, in the derived classes. And that this is derived off parent, this is derived off child, okay, but they all three have the same identify function, that replaces or usurps the like named function in the base class, the ultimate base class, the parent class. Um, they didn't have the virtual keywords here or here, but they did have it here. Um, Again, makes it a little confusing, but it isn't necessary to put them in these two locations, but it's good practice. But however, you don't need virtual keywords at all just to usurp a function. And these books I was reading at the time never made that clear. But like in previous videos I've done, you can see that you can just freely rename the damn function in a new in a derived class with no problem. It won't give you an error or anything. You don't need the virtual keyword. But the only benefit to using it is for notation purposes. It does show you that if you're looking at this particular class, this inherited class that's derived off of a previous class, it shows that there is a function that is common to this class, but this function is overriding it. Otherwise, if it just said this, you would never know that, without looking at the base class, you would never know that this was actually replacing a function in an ancestral class, but it is. So it's good annotation. But there is another benefit to it, if you want to call it a benefit, and that's if you're defining pointers to class objects. Let's see, where the fuck is it? It's up here. Okay, if you're defining pointers to objects, like you see here, you got these objects, but you're taking a pointer that's actually a pointer from a base class, and you're trying to point it though to a derived class's object. You cannot access, with these pointers, like what we're doing here, pointer child, is actually being pointed to a son object, but it's a parent class pointer. That's the type. It's a parent type pointer, but it's being pointed to a son or child type object. And what this means is, this pointer here cannot access any other members other than parent members. But when it comes to that overloaded function, or not overloaded, but that redefined virtual function, it will access the child version of that function, not the parent version. So that's the only advantage, and that works clear through inherited. Like I make a child class pointer and point it to a grandchild class object. This grandson is a grandchild class object. Okay, but I can identify all child class members. That includes methods and properties, but I cannot access the members of the grandchild class. But I can if I try to call it the virtual function, which is right here. See, this is child identity function, and that's all I got access to. But I can, call the virtual function of the grandchild class, of this instance of the grandchild class. You got to keep that in mind. So, so that could have some use, and that's just because it's virtual. Otherwise, if you look at the pchild pointer, I only have access to the child's methods. But if I, like I said, call this identify function, I can access the most current version of that in the in the grandson class, which you see here. So this will say I'm a grandchild even though it's a child class pointer. So I do not get the child class identify function, but I can only access the child identity or the methods and members of members in general of the child class and those of the parent class, but I can't go any higher than that. So it works it works its way down in the hierarchy, but not up in the hierarchy. If you want to look at children as being higher, built on top of their ancestors. So anyway, it's a little confusing. I don't quite know if this is a useful thing that short ass book was trying to teach you, but it's something. There it is. But other than note annotation and this thing, I don't really know what the and there is something else that virtual keyword is used for, and it's for the abstract data types. And that I really fucking don't understand the point to, and we'll get to that in the next few videos.